Hello, human. People say all the time that metal kills kefir grains, and like many myths, the phrase is badly framed. Metal is not poisonous by default, but certain metals, under certain conditions, can seriously damage a kefir colony. Kefir grains don't react to metal, as if it were something magical. They react to chemistry. So let's look at what's actually happening. When metal touches a living fermentation, during fermentation, kefir becomes acidic. It produces lactic acid and other organic acids. That acidic environment can react with some metals, especially reactive or low-quality metals. When that reaction happens, small amounts of metal ions can be released into the liquid. Those metal ions are the real problem. Kefir, bacteria, and yeasts are sensitive to certain metals because metal ions can interfere with enzymes, damage cell membranes, disrupt key metabolic processes. It doesn't take a huge amount. Repeated exposure, even in small doses, can weaken the colony over time. That's why it's not the same to use high-quality stainless steel versus aluminum, copper, rusty iron, scratched or damaged metal utensils. Not all metals react the same way, and not with the same intensity. This is where the confusion comes from. Someone uses a random metal spoon, the colony weakens days later, and the conclusion becomes, metal kills kefir. In reality, it was a specific chemical reaction, not metal as a concept, to understand why sometimes nothing happens, and other times the colony suffers. We need to talk about three things: exposure, acidity, and repetition. That's where the real risk lives. Brief contact with a stable metal like high quality stainless steel rarely causes immediate damage. The problem appears when contact is prolonged or repetitive, or when the metal is reactive or deteriorated. For example, leaving a metal utensil inside kefir for hours, fermenting in metal containers, or using rusty strainers constantly exposes the colony to metal ions. In an acidic environment, that exposure becomes more aggressive. Kefir grains have a biofilm, a protective structure that gives them some resistance. That biofilm can buffer occasional mistakes, but it's not designed to withstand constant chemical attacks. Over time, the colony loses balance, ferments poorly, flavor changes, or growth slows. Here's an important point. The damage is usually not immediate. Kefir may keep fermenting for several cycles. That's why many people don't connect metal use with the problem. The effect is cumulative. Another key detail: not all metals release the same ions. Aluminum and copper are especially reactive in acidic environments. Rusty iron adds unwanted compounds. By contrast, food-safe plastics, glass, ceramic, or wood don't trigger these reactions. This isn't superstition. It's basic chemistry applied to a living system. Understanding why metal can damage kefir grains lets you make decisions without fear or unnecessary rituals. It's not about panicking because a spoon touched the kefir for 1 second. It's about avoiding prolonged and repeated exposure to materials that react in an acidic environment. The most common mistake is using metal out of habit, straining with any random colander, stirring with whatever is nearby, fermenting in unsuitable containers. All of that adds chemical stress to the colony. Kefir grains don't need perfect conditions, but they do need coherent ones. Glass, food safe, plastic, wood, or high quality stainless steel minimize risk and keep things stable. When a colony weakens due to metal exposure, it doesn't always die. Many times it just loses strength. It ferments worse, grows less, or becomes more sensitive to other mistakes. And because the damage is slow, it gets blamed on something else. Metal isn't a mystical enemy, it's a chemical factor. And like any chemical factor, its impact depends on how much, how, and how often it's used. When you understand this, you stop repeating rules without thinking, and start caring for the process with judgment. Kefir grains aren't afraid of the world. They're afraid of repeated wrong chemistry. Follow me. I am Kefir Fermentin.